Ladies and gentlemen, she's coming back. Or more like, it's coming back to terrorize your ether raids and potentially arena experience. Yep, today's video is how to save yourself from the save skills. Enjoy.
Let the lesson begin.
Hey guys, Akariss here, bringing you another Fire Emblem Heroes video. If you didn't already leave from the amazing pun work from the introduction, then I implore you for staying. Today's video is going to focus on save skills and generally resource management when it comes to these sort of things, because I'm not going to like totally hype up that you should be super excited for the potential of save skills coming back in a more value heavy way, but I want you to take this video and provide you with some critical thinking and making those decisions with whatever resources you have to work with. So today's video isn't going to actually feature any builds, but it's definitely going to talk about far save, where I think it may stand for a player like you, or it may not matter. But either way, hopefully you take something out of this video and you're able to make a concrete decision that isn't impulsive or irrational just because everyone and Shrena's mother is using it. All right, so if you're not aware, basically we got a data mine thanks to, I believe this is Ban Pai Kun on Reddit, who basically confirmed that we are likely to get a Hero Fest with the new FEH channel, which I will cover, and a bunch of other stuff like that coming up from the update that involved Uller, or the small little info dump that we got there. And this little data mine here almost confirms that we're basically getting Valentine's Henriette, Guinevere Didu, and Flane in a Hero Fest with some tickets starting early next month. And I mean very early next month, August 2 apparently. So that is pretty huge, because basically all four of those could be considered meta relevant, especially Henriette with her far save, which is still fairly exclusive to her, and to do with near save, Flane being extremely good, especially as a one-off for AR, and Guinevere just has some pretty solid matchups against what the current meta is, especially if you combine her with something like near save, which happens to be on this upcoming Hero Fest banner. Now, Hero Fest is an interesting thing to talk about, because I'd say it definitely provides some pretty heavy value. You get the best rates for sniping characters on these types of banners, so why wouldn't you want to go for fodder here, or potentially units, or like one-offs like Flane, or go for merges on your favorites if that happens to be something like Guinevere, or Didu, I guess, if you really like Didu. So it's a good topic to talk about here, and I'm definitely going to try to do that for you. See what I did there. Now, what I want to talk about here is resource management and whether this is important to you, starting with kind of like a pros and cons on summoning Hero Fest in general, and it does kind of combine itself with the aspect here, which is, should you really be summoning for any of this stuff? And I think this kind of stuff matters based on a case-per-case basis. So if you take me, for example, I do play competitively, and I like to make sure that the resources, very limited resources that I have, F2P by the way, get spent in a really good manner. And this means basically spending it on like favorites, because you have limited resources, spending it on whatever helps my account score and rank better, because that will give me more rewards back to spend on the characters I want to use. For example, Grails is AR. The better you do in AR, the more Grails you get back, and then the more units you can invest out of Grails if you wanted to like try to understand that loop there. But everyone plays differently, and I want to try to at least get you thinking on whether this is important to you and not have your decision influenced by anyone, including myself. At least this might help you come to a decision, if nothing else. So I think it can be quite clear in this moment of the video that save skills are very powerful and have almost no counterplay. That's a very strong thing to say, because there isn't like a skill that directly counters it. Think like Fire Sweep before Null Sea Disrupt came out. There was really no way to counterplay into Fire Sweep besides literally player phasing those units. And some of the early AR maps really showed the power of something like Fire Sweep, because there was just no counterplay to it. With the release of Null C Disrupt, then you could see a lot more counterplay. Save skills are in a place where they have very little. It's basically like Flash and Poison Strike and Savage Blow and just some really soft counters that I would call not hard counters. So some of the best strategies on both offense and defense definitely use save skills, and I expect even with the safe defenses release meta fence that save skills become more powerful, at least for a short term, and this is why it's important to look at this. So one of the cons that I have here is that the meta is basically always changing in this game, and if you're chasing it, you will be at a resource loss. That is almost certain, because as we've seen just now, odd recovery takes a pretty strong hit due to safe defense. So if you were basically chasing odd recovery through like Sol, you were a late pickup or something like that, then you only have a couple months to basically use these skills to their max potential before they get pretty tamed down and have counterplay involved with them. So be very careful with that, especially if you're playing on a limited resource aspect. Hero Fest is, while extremely good value, there is no guarantee here. This means there is no spark system, and it's hard for me to kind of just recommend this. Don't think that it's all results oriented. Don't think, oh, I got 100 orbs, I'm going to get Flame, or don't think I got 100 orbs, I'm going to get Valentine's Henriette. That is possible, but it's not guaranteed. This isn't like a spark where you spend 160 orbs and boom, you get whatever fodder or unit you wanted. Don't get caught into that trap, and it's a good way to start spending unnecessarily that you maybe didn't intend to do. Yeah, that's an important one, guys. Finally, orbs that you spend in places like this do not, they don't like contribute to your actual score or ranking progression. So if you care about that, you care about the actual grails you get, you care about the flowers or the codes or whatever through any of the modes in the game, keep in mind that save skills and any of this don't actually directly impact your scoring. If you think you need them to play better, that's definitely not the case either. I don't have save skills. I've never had save skills. I've never had odd recovery. I don't have dual Sigurd, I don't have dual Peony, I don't have legendary Sigurd. The list goes on, guys. I don't have any of these extremely powerful units that a lot of people might be pushing. And again, I am still getting the max rewards out of every single mode since basically a long time. I've been playing a very long time, so you don't feel compelled to say, oh my god, I need this to succeed. Not the case, folks. You can get by with F2P units just fine. A couple of premium units here and there that you happen to land on definitely help. Some fodder, maybe one-offs that are really powerful. Like I've gone like a Pirate to Barn, for example, that I use, or Reveal with some special acceleration, Valoria. The list goes on. Everyone is going to have some tools that they can definitely make use of or adapt and get things done, and that's why I don't want you to feel compelled that you need any of these save skills. I will go through this video and give you guys the due diligence. I'll talk about save skills, where they could be used, and how they could definitely improve what you have, but that doesn't mean, especially if you get it like for free, like tickets, like you might just land on these, or in the future you might land on them. But either way, I do want you to just think about, okay, what is my situation? Do I really need any of this, or do I just want it, or am I pressured or compelled by an outside force telling me to get this sort of stuff? That is definitely the main message I want you to think about through this video. And yeah, I mean, don't make me stop you. If you want to make your experience more fun, you want to feel more powerful, you want it to be easier, and therefore that contributes to higher rewards. There's definitely some correlation there. If you just have an easier and more of a fun time, then you might just get more rewards from playing more or not struggling, I guess. It's just, again, think about you and think about what works for you. Okay, so that is the whole critical thinking aspect of this, but I want to actually talk about the save skills themselves, and maybe you can start thinking about how important it is to you, again, based on your own barracks and perspective. First thing I want to talk about here is the actual F2P candidates, because this is most relatable and everyone mostly has access to, which is this. Okay, this is literally the F2P armor pool, guys. It's not that much, as you can see. So I've sorted by min-max here, because generally speaking, min-max means that these units who are at the high end of min-max can use their stat spread better than those at the bottom. And that might look a little weird because then you see like Felix at the bottom and you're like, you can't be serious. Like Felix is actually good. And I would completely agree with you. Felix is actually pretty good, but the only reason he's good right now is because his stats are relevant and recent. So if you take a look at Arden at the top, Arden is actually really good and I don't think enough people use him. And if you combine that with his weapon refine, which is basically a dual phase brave, then he's still really good because he dumps all his speed and res, gains a bunch of HP, attack, and defense, and therefore can fulfill that sort of melee, physical, high attack kind of role. Whereas Felix is just kind of middling everywhere, and in time, everyone is going to just kind of outclass him because all his stats will get stat crept, so to speak. Everyone in the middle kind of either doesn't fill a role or isn't really in the right place. Honestly, if you look at the F2P armor pool, it's kind of disappointing. And if you were to give saves to anyone, guys, I feel like the best places right now would basically be something like Arden, Felix, and Black Knight out of the F2P pool. Like, it's really limited, and if you are one of those players who uses any of those, and some investment of some sort, like those have the best either preference for weapons or stat spread. In the case of Felix, has access to really good inheritable bows. BK has his Alondite Black Luna, and Arden just has a really good stat spread plus his great weapon. So like the F2P pool, as you can see, is not that welcoming when it comes to save skills, and if you don't have those guys invested, then that's only going to limit you into whatever 5-star exclusives that you may or may not have. And that's where things get interesting. If you actually look at some of the best, I'm not going to say best, but some of the save defenses that we have currently, and I just went through my friends list and just saw who was using save skills and took a few screenshots of that without naming anyone. If you look at save skills, they're not used by most of these F2P armors, and therefore you're going to be locked into having to find access to potentially some 5-star exclusive armors which you can't merge and may fall behind in the future. Honestly, some of these 5-star exclusive armors may not fall behind out of the meta that easily, especially something like Brave Hector, Brave Edelgard with like weapon refine to even around next year. Fallen Edelgard, like these ones, these 5-star exclusives have so much power to them, or weapons that don't really fall out of favor, that I wouldn't expect them to, you know, be bad save investments. But that doesn't mean that you should summon for both Brave Hector and save skills, and then potentially, you know, they release Brave Micaiah's refine and all of a sudden you see her everywhere and Hector can't be used. That would really suck. Essentially, you would be investing a lot of orbs trying to chase meta, and then IS decides to flip a switch and all of a sudden it's not good. Now again, don't take these like save skills on defenses at face value. We have safe defense coming up, and safe defense definitely could change around how defenses, which defenses are good or not. And I'm just kind of giving you an example of what I think is the importance of save skills. Save skills should be better as of safe defense because it does mean it allows players to set up player phase into your team, and a lot of player phase is done through range units. With those range units, save skills become better. If I was to make an early prediction as to what kind of teams I feel are best going into post-meta fence kind of meta for Ether raids, I definitely could see a mixed team that involves save skills, either near or far save, combined with Cavs, maybe Infantry Pulse, Dancers, of course. Anything like that is definitely what I could see in the meta going forward. Keep in mind, and I don't think this is like something a lot of people have considered, is that save skills could potentially end up as a sort of weapon refine, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a armor exclusive. It hasn't happened yet, but there's definitely a lot of cases of where characters or heroes get like types of abilities as refines. And we haven't seen saves yet, but I could see that at some point. So just food for thought. No guarantee, but again, food for thought. What I wanted to definitely talk about as well is, in my opinion, the best candidates for save skills, which would be starting with these guys in 5-star exclusive quality. So This is just a very rough list, and there's way more armors. There's about 60 premium armors, but I wanted to give you guys just thinking about some of the best options for save skills that I feel are currently used quite a bit successfully, and I've just ranked them here from best to worst of this cast. There are way more armors, and if they're not listed here, then I probably haven't considered them to be all that great. When it comes to the top of the top, there's these guys at the top here because they have some sort of unique mechanics or something unique about them that makes them stand out compared to the others when it comes to save skills. I don't really need to go through all of them, but essentially Hector is not an armor that uses a save skill. That's huge. Brave Edelgard is more recent, has preference skills. Gustav has a super strong weapon. Edelgard is Edelgard, Fallen Edelgard, and Zelgius has Black Luna. So those are all really good things to consider. When it comes to dragons, honestly, the only dragons I would consider giving save skills to would be the Bothuthuns, either Bothuthuns or Nagi. They're just really powerful dragons, and that is pretty much it. The other ones don't really compare. Hector and Valentine's Hector have Berserk Armads, which is really good, and then you have those that need some really good merges, a lot of merges, or Grima's more recent weapon, which didn't really bring him to the top, but is at least notable here to mention. So if you have any of these armors like really merged up, or you're thinking about it and want to spend a lot of orbs, then sure, they would be some of the best save skill candidates in my opinion, but be careful. As I said, a couple of months, they could just get completely countered, and that wouldn't be a first for the Fire Emblem Heroes meta. What I want to also talk about is the best allies or support partners for save skills, and this is mostly a offense-oriented thing, so AR offense, potentially in PvE as well. Obviously, Flame is on the data mined banner, so that's pretty huge. Natural synergy there, 30% reduction is great. Noka is amazing. The weapon refine on her gives stats and debuff stats. Combined with save skills, you can basically put her at the front of your save units, both near and far save potentially, and always have her weapon fully active and providing tons of buffs and debuffs to the enemy team. And finally, Halloween Noe with both range capabilities that are great because of her teleportation shenanigans, but also has a similar effect to Hanoka in regards of debuffing. One other thing I haven't mentioned here is the F2P one, which would be Marth. Marth isn't too bad either, buffs up pretty much everyone on your team, although it's just not as powerful. So that pretty much covers everything I wanted to kind of talk about in this video. As I mentioned, I didn't want this video to focus on builds or anything like that, but I definitely will talk about it should I feel it's very impactful once we get the Hero Fest, once we know Safety Fence's mechanics, maybe once I cover that as well, and provide a more up-to-date opinion once we get anything more through the Fetch channel. But I wanted you guys to just take this as a general food for thought for any Hero Fest that happen, and make sure you make good decisions that aren't impulsive or necessarily too influenced by others. Me personally, I haven't even decided whether I'm going to be summoning or not. I've been on a pretty good save streak, and I definitely want to complete some merges on some of my other favorites and account meaningful progression. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, sub if you haven't already. If you enjoy the content, want to see it coming, keep coming. Patreon is a great way to support the channel. Thank you guys. I'll add you to the end as always if you do choose to do that. And finally, if you want to see a more social Akariss, I did join in. I didn't join, but I started posting on Instagram, so go check that out as well for interesting things. I'll see you guys in the next one. Much love. Peace.
It's over.